Kevin Levrone, the uncrowned king of bodybuilding, one of the most beloved athletes among fans of iron training, yet never Mr. Olympia. Still, he's undeniably one of the greatest bodybuilders to have ever graced the stage. A man who could afford to let himself slip out of shape during breaks from competition, yet transform his physique in what seemed like the blink of an eye. This release focuses on the emotions Kevin inspired, his memories of being in peak form, and his journey in bodybuilding. We'll also touch on some lesser-known facts about Kevin. For example, why he drank whiskey with cola before a performance, how he trained with Dorian Yates, why he lost the 1992 Olympia, and in which tournament he showed his best ever form.
For the trophy.
In these frames, we see the Junior USA Bodybuilding Championships award ceremony. Gold went to Paul DeMeo, who was 24 at the time and had a great physique, marking the start of a promising career. Unfortunately, Paul's success was short-lived and he failed to make it to the professional level. Tragically, he passed away at 37 from a drug overdose. Silver went to Kevin Levrone.
I don't know.
Kevin Levrone takes second. That makes the winner.
A young and massive Levrone impressed the audience, even though many disagreed with the judge's decision to place him second. Nevertheless, he made a loud statement. The 1991 Nationals were special. Picture it: young Ronnie Coleman, Chris Cormier, Flex Wheeler, and, of course, Kevin Levrone, all on the same stage. Ronnie Coleman would take more time to reach his peak, but Flex and Kevin were already ready to shine. Levrone won the USA Championship, got his pro card, and took first place at his first pro tournament, the 1992 Grand Prix Germany. He also won another big victory at the Night of Champions that year. It seemed like Levrone was ready to challenge for the Mr. Olympia title in his first year as a pro, but winning at the Night of Champions wasn't easy for Kevin. The Mr. Olympia competition took place in Helsinki on the 12th of September 1992. The previous champion, Lee Haney, had been in the role for 8 years, but he retired, leaving the title up for grabs. Back then, without the internet and social media, athletes didn't know what their competitors looked like until the tournament itself. Dorian Yates was the favourite to win, having provided serious competition to Lee Haney the previous year. However, the situation remained uncertain. The atmosphere behind the scenes was tense. Years later, Kevin realised that he could have stepped onto the stage in an even more impressive shape in 1992. Nevertheless, it was a tough decision for the judges. The champion that year was Dorian Yates, the mysterious and tough athlete from Birmingham. Kevin was disappointed with second place, but that result spoke volumes about his future prospects. When you're disappointed with second place in your debut Olympia, it means you have a big future in bodybuilding. The 1990s were a golden age for bodybuilding. The best athletes, crowds of fans, and big money in the industry all contributed to a unique atmosphere. This period was memorable for the charismatic personalities on stage and the countless tournaments where the stars competed. For Kevin Levrone, competing in 6 tournaments in a single year, like 1993, was just the warm-up. He was gradually gaining ground, but another factor that defined this time was the incredibly high level of competition on the stage. He came 5th at the 1993 Mr. Olympia, which was a great result for someone so young in such tough competition. That year, the battle for first place was between Dorian Yates, Flex Wheeler, and Shawn Ray. Kevin learned a lot from that, and 1994 was one of his best years yet, competing in 9 tournaments and winning 5, including the Arnold Classic. However, Kevin came second at the Olympia once again. Dorian Yates won his 3rd consecutive title. 1995, the situation remains the same. Kevin wins the tournaments on the European Tour, but at the Olympia, he once again takes second place, his 3rd time finishing as the runner-up. Kevin kept on improving, and 1996 was a big year for him. He took part in 10 tournaments, starting the season with 3 wins in a row.
Right-card forward and presenting the Arnold medallion.
On the 2nd of March 1996, the Arnold Classic took place in Columbus. The 2 strongest athletes on stage were Kevin Levrone and Flex Wheeler, with Paul Dillett coming in third.
Paul Dillett.
Paul Dillett.
Third place winner.
Flex Wheeler.
Repeat of the
Kevin
1991.
There are just two competitors left on stage, Kevin Levrone and Flex Wheeler. The announcer says who came second.
And that goes to Flex Wheeler.
So Kevin Levrone.
Can you believe that? That is spectacular.
Kevin Levrone has won his second Arnold Classic title. Flex Wheeler can't believe it.
It was clear that Flex was disappointed with the results, while Kevin remained calm and showed little emotion. You could really see it during the interview after the awards ceremony. Levrone's physique that season was truly outstanding. Years later, when Kevin was asked about the conditioning of modern athletes, he said that you could even judge a bodybuilder's condition by their face. He was talking about the strictness of the diet and the detailed development of the physique that was characteristic of bodybuilding's golden era. Kevin won 3 tournaments at the start of the 1996 season, but Dorian Yates wasn't competing in any of them. In September of that year, the Mr. Olympia took place in Chicago. Despite recovering from a bicep injury, Dorian amazed everyone with his massive size and muscle hardness. There were rumours that Shawn Ray, who was in incredible shape, surprisingly massive and detailed, could have won that Olympia. However, Dorian held on to his title, and Kevin took third place. This result was a real turning point for the season. After Olympia, Levrone didn't win any more stages of the European Tour, but 1997 was a great year for him. It was his most successful year in terms of victories, but it started off badly. At the Arnold Classic tournament, Kevin finished only 8th, losing to Flex Wheeler, who became the winner. At the 1997 Mr. Olympia, it was obvious that Dorian Yates' body was starting to show signs of wear. His triceps were looking a bit weak, and he wasn't quite as fit as he once was. Even so, he stayed impressively muscular and kept his winning look. That year, 2 athletes in particular stood out for their preparation. Nasser El Sombati and Shawn Ray were also worth a mention. Nasser was impressively big, while Shawn wowed everyone with his attention to detail and symmetry. They ended up sharing 2nd and 3rd place. Dorian Yates claimed his 6th and final consecutive victory at the Olympia, with Kevin Levrone finishing in 4th. The images from that tournament, where Kevin showcased his best poses, would remain iconic in bodybuilding history. However, the judges felt his conditioning wasn't quite enough to secure the top spot. After the Olympia, Kevin dominated the European Tour, securing 6 consecutive wins. Kevin kept up his winning streak all the way to the Grand Prix in Russia, where Ronnie Coleman took the crown.
Серебряная медаль досталась Кевину Левроне за 6 дней тура, покорившему всю Европу, но только не Москву. Столица же отдала пальму первенства Ронни Колеману, самому могучему из всех полицейских в мире.
And this was a bad omen for Kevin. After enduring an era of competition with one legend, he found himself witnessing the rise and blossoming of a new star. The 1998 professional San Francisco competition was the last time Kevin managed to beat Ronnie Coleman. It was Kevin's penultimate victory, and judging by his rear poses, it wasn't easy for him. After that, the era of Ronnie Coleman began, and Levrone's victories came to an end. Even in Europe, in both 1998 and 1999, Kevin finished 4th at the Olympia 2 years in a row. Yes, fans love winners, but gaining the love of the people doesn't always require finishing in first place. Perhaps during those years, Kevin was truly the people's champion. He was beloved for his simplicity, openness, and of course, for his incredible physique on stage.
Super, let's go.
Yeah, baby, one more.
The 1999 Grand Prix England, perhaps the best competition in bodybuilding history. Watching this video, who could criticize Kevin for taking 3rd place? No one, because everyone will remember his phenomenal conditioning and posing. And Ronnie Coleman? He was one of a kind, and finding any arguments against him was difficult. Like Ronnie Coleman, Kevin knew his way around heavy lifting. He could handle weights up to 1,550 pounds on the leg press, 110-pound dumbbells, 500 pounds on the bench press, and 400 pounds overhead. These are just some of his strength benchmarks. Levrone was incredibly strong and knew how to use that power to build an impressive physique on stage. The 2000 Olympia was another second-place finish for Kevin. How many second places had there been? But it was that particular Olympia that Kevin highlights above all others. Olympia 2001. Kevin placed third. A young and ambitious Jay Cutler stormed onto the scene, nearly ending Ronnie Coleman's winning streak. But in the end, Ronnie held onto his title. His unique training style, and, most importantly, the results it delivered, allowed him to stay at the top. That same year, Kevin claimed his last victory at the pro level at the Grand Prix in England. In 2002, Kevin came the closest to the Olympia title one last time, but once again, he finished second. He had placed second behind Dorian Yates, and then, later, behind Ronnie Coleman, an athlete with phenomenal genetics who found himself at the peak of his career during the era of maximum competition.
I'm not an alcoholic. I don't need it to survive or anything like that. But for me, I would just occasionally do it when I wanted to get in the mood. You know, for me, some of the greatest posing routines I ever came up with in my entire life. You know, I would always backstage, you know, have a shot of Jack Daniels and a Coca-Cola, you know, to get me in the groove.
The 2003 Olympia, more than 10 years after his debut, saw Kevin finish in 6th place. Everything pointed to this being his last Olympia. After that, he spent many years focusing on business, trying his hand at acting, and pursuing his passion for music. During Kevin's absence, the Olympia saw victories from Jay Cutler, followed by Phil Heath. In the mid-2010s, fan interest in the Olympia began to wane, and Kevin Levrone's return, or rather, his revival, became a true sensation. The legend of the past returned after so many years, and he did so at the Olympia, which became the biggest story that captured attention for the 2016 event. However, Kevin's return proved to be more challenging than he had anticipated.
I got it. Let me go. Get it up. Bang it up. Bang it up. Get it up there. That's right. What's up, baby? Yeah.
And so, we got to the point where we had the press conference before the Olympia. Kevin thought it would be a good idea to remind the younger generation of how athletes used to behave in the good old days, how they put on a show. Kevin Levrone showed off his physique, but only the upper body, and this was no coincidence. Miracles are possible, but not in this case. Kevin had done a great job of getting his upper body into shape, but the massive detailed legs of the past, given his problematic knees, were beyond recovery. Kevin didn't make it into the top 15. He carried on training and made another appearance at the Arnold Classic in 2018, which marked the end of his career. Some will call that comeback a mistake. Others will see it as a bold experiment and a good business and media decision. At the time, Kevin was focused on building his sports nutrition brand and looking to boost sales. Levrone didn't quite achieve what he wanted. The result was just a little below what the audience was expecting. But if we see the return as a failure, Kevin won't be remembered for it. He'll always be remembered as the athlete who finished second at Olympia 5 times, who could stop training for 6 months, only to return and regain his form in 3 months from scratch. He was one of the best in history in certain poses, had fantastic arms, was an incredibly powerful athlete, and was one of the most charismatic bodybuilders in history. Let us know what you think of the legend, which stages of his career and which tournaments you remember the most. Please support this video in any way you can, especially with comments, and share it so more people can learn about it. Thank you for watching.